Hi, my name is Matt Forbes, and I'm here to talk to you about how to properly light a green screen. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, wait a second, why is Matt out in the snow doing this video shoot about green screen in the freezing cold weather? And actually, you know what? Oh my! Would someone go tell those special effects guys to take it easy? Scared me half to death. Just stop that, please. Okay, that's enough. Go tell those guys to take a coffee break or something. Go tell those special effects guys to take a hike. I don't care. That's scary stuff. Well, all kidding aside, we know that this isn't really happening. You can go tell your children to come back in the room. The scary part of the movie's over. We're just in front of a green screen. Could someone turn off the snow, please? Yeah, just the red button there. And yeah, and please turn that scary stuff off. Is it off? Okay, great. Well, anyways, now I'm starting to feel a little ridiculous wearing this coat because I am indoors. So I'm going to change and I'll get right back to you. Hold on a second. Okay, so I'm back. Now, green screens have been around for a long time. There's nothing new about them. Hollywood's been using them, the media have been using them for decades actually. But the thing is that you can do so much with a green screen. But in order for your green screen work to really look realistic and to be able to pull this off, you want to make sure that your lighting is very well prepared. So in this little video, we're going to talk about 3 tips. I'm going to share 3 tips with you on effectively lighting your green screen. The first thing I want to talk about is basically the light type. What types of lights do you want to use to light your green screen and your subjects? The second thing I want to talk about is light positioning. Where do you position the lights relative to your green screen and your subjects? And finally, the third thing we're going to talk about is your scene illumination. What is the whole illumination of your scene in the final product? We'll talk about that in just a minute. But first of all, let's talk about tip number 1, light types. Okay, let's talk about tip number 1, light types. In other words, what are the type of lights you use to light your green screen? Well, it doesn't really matter what type of light you use. There's some debate about that. Oh, you should use fluorescents, or you should use tungstens, or you should use LEDs. The trick is, what you want to do is make sure that your lighting is consistent. In this case, we're using LED lights. I really like LED lights because they don't take up much power and they're really cool to the touch. I don't have to worry if I knock over this light that my green screen is going to spontaneously combust, because it's actually very cool. I can actually put my hand on it. But again, it doesn't really matter what types of light you use. You want to make sure though that the lighting on your green screen is even and spread out well. What you'd want to try to avoid is using different types of lights to light your green screen. In other words, we have LED lights here on this side of the screen and on that side of the screen over there. What you want to avoid is don't use a fluorescent or a LED light on this side of the screen and then over there use a tungsten or a different type of light on the other side. Because what's going to happen is your green screen is going to get this sort of different blending of greens, because each light has a different color temperature to them. Now in this video, we're not going to get into the whole science and philosophy of lights. Lighting is a whole subject all its own, and it's well worth learning about how to do good lighting. But you basically just want to appreciate that lights do have their own color temperature. Some lights, like fluorescent lights, are a cooler light temperature, whereas tungsten lights, incandescent lights often have a more warmer, kind of yellowish color temperature to them. So if you can just keep that in mind, whatever you're using to light your green screen, use the same lights all around. Okay, let's talk about tip number 2, light positioning. Basically, you want to make sure that your green screen, that the lights that are lighting up your green screen are positioned in a way to where they give a nice even spread of light across your screen. So in this case, we've got our LEDs spread apart on both sides of the screen. You can't see the other side, but both sides of the screen are even. And if you're using a light structure like this, or you're just using light stands, which is fine too, you just want to make sure that you try to set them as evenly as possible so that you get that nice spread. And the other thing too is you want to make sure that you set them far enough back from your green screen to where your green screen isn't blown out too bright, and again, so that the light has enough room to spread. Now the other thing is positioning your talent, positioning your subjects in a way to where you're not too close to the green screen. In fact, as you get closer to the green screen, you're going to run into a problem where you start casting shadows on the screen. Now in some cases, that's good. Sometimes you want to have a shadow because you're doing some kind of cool special effect. But most of the time when you're working with virtual sets and other things, you're going to want to avoid casting shadows on your green screen. So you're going to want to make sure that you put your subject basically as far away as possible from that green screen. Now the other thing is the lights that you use to light your subject. Now if you just look at this simple diagram that I have here, this is a basic kind of universal good way to set up lights. You basically have a key light, you have a fill light, and you have some nice backlights. Now depending again on your scene, you can arrange those in many different ways. But the position of the lights is very important. You want to make sure that your lights that you're using to light your subject aren't going to interfere with that nice lighting you have on your green screen. So try to think about keeping those separate. Don't try to use the same lights that you use to light your subject to light your green screen. Okay, let's go on to the final tip. Okay, our final tip that we want to offer you is scene illumination. In other words, what is the overall illumination of the final scene? See, oftentimes the mistake that's made is that you get all excited about the green screen. Hey, we got a green screen and we're going to shoot this exciting movie. Let's get the green screen lit. Let's shoot the talent and let's go. And then you forget about the final product. That can easily happen with green screen work. So you want to make sure that well ahead of time you understand what's going to be behind you in that green screen. What are you going to composite? What is the global illumination? What is the overall illumination of that scene? Let's use an example. Let's imagine that behind me I'm going to put a scene of a beautiful field with some trees, okay? And the sun in that scene is coming from up here in this direction, nice and bright. All the trees in the scene are casting shadows going that way. But let's imagine though that in the studio here, I decided to put my key light, my main light, over here on this side of my face and my fill light over here. What's going to happen? Well, most likely people that watch your movie aren't going to think, wait a second, something's weird about that movie. It looks like, the sun is over there, but the guy's face is brighter over here. They're not going to think of that. But what they are going to do is they're going to think something looks really phony about that movie. Most people don't realize what it is, but if you don't get your lighting right, it's just gonna look phony. So you want to make sure if the sun in your scene is coming from this way, you want to have your subject brightly lit from this side. Then when you composite it, people are going to think, now that's a great movie. Also, if you're doing a virtual set, let's say you're using a great product like Telestream's Wirecast, and you have this wonderful virtual set. Now that virtual set has all kinds of blues and pinks and different colors. That's part of the scene illumination. So what would you do? Well, you would maybe use some light gels on your lights that have some of those blues and pinks and different colors to light your subject, again, so that they'll blend in perfectly with the scene. So it's very important that you understand ahead of time what's in your final scene and light everything accordingly. Well, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this short video on how to effectively light your green screen. If you can just remember those 3 tips, it will help you go a long ways in all your future productions that you do. Remember, the more you plan ahead of time, the better your productions will look in the end, and the easier it will be when you're working in post-production work. Again, my name is Matt Forbes, and thanks for watching.